So, hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Turn 5 podcast. There's only 4 of us here this week. Ben's at work, so he's sadly missing out, but he should hopefully be back with us next week. We do have Alex, Richard, and Nia as normal. So, Imola.
Oh boy.
It was dramatic to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, that race felt like it went on forever in a good way because it was just non-stop what's going on. But yeah, no, it was just a hell of a race, wasn't it?
I was pleasantly surprised given last year's snooze fest at Imola.
Amazing what a bit of rain can do.
Yes, the race actually was. But even take the rain out of it, I still think we would have been in for a good race. The rain just exemplified it. And we've had a wet race this season already.
I think we spoke, didn't we, last week about how we all expected to get trolled by the weather forecast like we always do.
Yeah.
And after, Friday and Saturday, it didn't even cross my mind that it might rain. And then I logged onto Twitter, I think, about an hour before the race. And I saw, it was pouring with rain. And yeah, I think a track like Imola in the wet, obviously I haven't been watching F1 long enough to know if there's been a wet race there before, but it was always going to be carnage, I think.
Yeah, especially how narrow the track is. It does sort of just add to the peril almost in the wet because there's just nowhere to go.
As we saw with Valtteri and George.
Yes, we'll come to that a bit later on.
Yeah.
Just on that though, one of the team's bold predictions has already came true, and it was mine. There will be a red flag in a race this season. It only took, 36 laps for that to come true?
I mean, with Mazepin there, it was inevitable, but...
Well, Mazepin wasn't involved. He finished the race.
Well, he did perform a spin at the end, didn't he? Just,
ceremonial.
Traditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did kind of cause the safety car, so not quite there yet.
Yeah, safety car number 1, yeah.
Yeah, well, he started the weekend with a spin, didn't he? And finished it as well with a spin, if we want to go chronologically.
But then, as commentary were saying, the Latifi incident wasn't really Mazepin's fault. There was nothing he could have done.
No.
Nothing really Latifi could have done either. It's just a typical wet
track he's drifted across.
Yeah.
Which sucks, but it's still really
unfortunate. Big shunt though for Nicholas into the wall. That's all 2 big crashes were really big shunts.
That's a lot of money for Williams.
Yeah.
Williams.
Big ouch.
Even Mercedes though, like they posted a picture of W12 back in the garage, and it was an absolute state.
Well,
but they've only got 1 car to repair.
Yeah. Well, Toto said, didn't he, it might hamper their development because of the written-off chassis, which I never knew they could sort of link to each other, development and repairs.
Yeah, you think a new chassis would sort of undo that, but as what it is, Toto says.
Yeah.
Let's jump back to the start of the weekend, which didn't get off so smoothly.
And not from the broadcasting front.
Yeah, FOM just sort of died off at the...
It's kind of like listening to the radio, to be honest.
Yeah.
But actually just seeing the presenters instead.
Wait, what happened? I had college doing first practice.
In FP1, there was a power cut at Formula One's broadcast centre in the UK. It was either a power cut or it was a cut fibre line, I think I remember seeing on Twitter. And so we had no pictures for about the first 5 minutes of the session. And
was that why there was just an aerial of the track?
Yeah. We just did the helicopter going round and round, which was also recorded earlier in the weekend because there was no cars on circuit.
We didn't have any onboards either, did we?
Yeah, there was no onboards for the whole session.
Which meant we completely missed the Ocon Perez incident.
Yeah. The stewards missed it as well, though. Which is the thing. They couldn't really see what was happening. They
just spoke to them afterwards and were like, what happened, guys?
Yeah. I think the no further action was very predictable, given there was like nothing to go off of
no
in
evidence.
that case. Yeah. Even the teams were struggling. The driver tracker was down. Some of the telemetry was down. Just the weekend did not get underway with a smooth start. And Mazepin spun
twice.
No surprise.
Well, some things don't change, but
he bookended the session with spins.
Yeah,
he did. I think the teams couldn't like tell the drivers sometimes, could they, when someone was coming up behind them? And I know, like,
there was an incident with Lando, I think it was, where he just didn't know someone was coming, and they nearly drove into each other. Yeah,
and I think it arguably caused the Ocon Perez incident, didn't it?
Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
because what the teams were saying was the drivers could talk to the team, but the team couldn't talk back. There was only one-way radio across the paddock, unlike the Charles Leclerc incident after the red flag, where there was only one-way radio to one car. Everyone's radio was down. It was a very strange session. I'll look into the past of Formula One.
Yeah, it was a bit of a messy session in a way, because like we had plenty of people running wide. We had Yuki went for a trip through the gravel. Obviously, you've got the double spin. It's Friday was not
Leclerc crashed, didn't he?
FP2 Leclerc binned it.
I think
Max didn't have a great.
I've
just got Max written. Oh no.
One thing I would say though is I do like the new practice format. I think they mentioned this quite a lot on Sky. Because obviously Bahrain, we didn't really see it so much because they know the track anyway.
But, and they'd been testing
they
their
were
gauge
all out the whole session, weren't they?
Yeah,
a whole hour each time.
You wouldn't think taking a half an hour away would make such a difference, but it has.
Yeah.
Because I remember last season, about the 45-minute mark, they would always talk about the mid-session lull, where the teams would come in, they would give their tyres back to Pirelli, and they'd come out a bit later. But that just doesn't really exist in this hour format for some strange reason.
It's kind of like the qualifying runs that you see in Formula 2. They all go out for a first stint, and then they all come into the pits, and they all change their tyres, and they all go out for a second stint.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like the 3 minutes, 4 minutes in the middle, where it's just kind of like, here's the track.
And then again,
here's a driver sat in his car.
We have that 3 times in Formula 1.
True. Very true.
In Q1, Q2, and Q3. But the thing we did see for the first time this season, though, Mercedes 1-2 in a session.
It feels weird saying that.
Now.
Yeah, top in practice 1 and practice 2, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Max had his drive shaft problem, didn't he? Was it drive shaft?
Yeah. And he was going to go. Did he have a track limits as well when he was going to go fastest? I can't remember.
He only did 5 laps in FP2.
In FP2 he was about to start his flying lap, and the car just gave up.
And then went on a detour around Imola.
Yeah, which does raise a big question about Red Bull's reliability or Honda's reliability.
It depends which bit broke.
Yeah, because 3 of the 4 cars have all changed their energy store and control electronics already. You only get 2 of them per season before incurring penalties. The fact that 3 of those drivers are now on component 2 and we're only on race 2, it could be quite worrying. Further down the season,
there's going to be some penalties there, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And they're usually changed at the same time as well. So rather than a 5-place penalty, it's a 10-place grid penalty, which could wreak havoc in some of the later tracks. Like, imagine that happened, say, at Monaco. 10-place grid penalty.
No, you might as well just go home.
They'll probably take their annual penalty at Monza, won't they? For all the cars.
They
normally think everybody takes a completely new engine.
Yeah.
But no, that definitely is a bit of a worrying thing in terms of Red Bull and AlphaTauri. Those engine parts do seem to be a bit unreliable. So where they've gained the speed, have they sacrificed in reliability? And as Ferrari have proved, you can't win championships unless you've got both. They had speed, but didn't have reliability. Mercedes had both, won the title.
Having said that, it doesn't help when, as much as we love Yuki Tsunoda, when he backs the car into a wall and ruins the gearbox. But I'm sure he'll learn from that. We had another brilliant radio moment, didn't we, in practice for him?
Traffic paradise.
Traffic paradise, yeah.
It is quite his broken English, like the small errors, quite funny. But I think we all love Yuki.
Oh yeah,
and the fact he basically swears like a sailor.
Yeah.
Like, his exact words are, "I swear like a sailor" in the car.
Yeah, he didn't care. He didn't care if it was Perez, the seat he's ultimately trying to take.
Yeah, he spoke his mind down the radio.
He's gonna give Gunter a run for his money on the Netflix series. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I do have a feeling that Tsunoda is going to be the sort of Dan Ticktum of Formula One, where the moment he comes on the radio, it's just broadcast. Because what's he going to say next?
Here's your entertainment factor.
Yeah. We know Monaco's a bit boring. Have Yuki Tsunoda.
Have Yuki Tsunoda swearing for 5 minutes because he's stuck behind Mick Schumacher after a dodgy pit stop call.
But
other things on qualifying, Williams, both cars into Q2.
Yes.
Strong weekend for them.
Close to Q3 as well, really.
Yeah.
George was only a couple of tenths off of Q3.
It was a tenth.
It was only
only
a tenth. Yeah.
Pretty close. But then again, the whole of qualifying was the closest for ages, wasn't it?
Really sure the top 8 were separated.
It was less than half a second.
Yeah.
Very much Bottas.
Yeah.
Should have gone quicker, and Norris got track limits, didn't he, on his last lap?
Yeah.
Which was absolute heartbreak. That was a painful one. But
I was so annoyed when I saw that.
The top 9 were separated by a second. Well, not even 8 tenths. Lewis Hamilton 1:14.411, Esteban Ocon 1:15.210. So 8 tenths between.
Oh yeah, because Stroll didn't even bother to set a time, did he?
Yeah, Stroll didn't set a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Russell was just under a tenth and a half away from Q3. Lance Stroll 1:15.138, George Russell 1:15.261.
Just to put this into how unlucky Carlos Sainz got, his time in Q2, if he'd set that in Q3, would have put him above Ocon.
Yes.
So I mean, given that Charles has plopped it into P4, I think Carlos got quite unlucky in the old qualifying things.
Russell's time would have only put him 500ths behind Ocon.
Yeah.
If he'd set that in Q3. A bit of a bold strategy from the Williams, just where we're talking about qualifying, running both cars in Q2 initially on the mediums.
I said this when I was on the Discord call. I think they just did that as like a sighter lap. Just like, go and get your eye in for this session, because they always say that track conditions change between sessions because you get them laying down extra rubber and whatever. So I think that was just go and get used to it again.
Yeah. And
then go and blitz it, because they'd used so many tyres in the first qualifying session that they had one set of new softs left each.
Yeah, they always do that.
And unless they got through to Q3, then they get another one.
Yeah, exactly. But they didn't want to burn up their fresh set, and then when they went to go for a second run, have to use a scrubbed set. So.
But yeah, speaking of Carlos Sainz and qualifying, Sainz 11th, Leclerc 4th.
It's one of them, right? Yeah. I mean, it was so tight the way you got knocked out, and you never know, if you got through to Q3, you could have been up there as well. Really, I mean,
I'm still willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's learning the car still.
Yeah, I think that's the case with I think that's the case with a lot of the drivers who've moved teams, like Daniel as well. Because I think if he'd been like Lando and already been in the car for a year or two, I think he could have been up there with Lando in the race. And probably during qualifying as well. But obviously, it's his second qualifying in that car, in a new engine, new car, new team. So, I think he will be up there. And Carlos as well. I think they'll be up there soon. Just
But
need to get
then
used
the
to it.
Carlos Sainz thing, you compare it with their Q2 performance in Bahrain, where they went P1 and P2.
Yeah.
Was it just a lack of a perfect lap, or are the
Could
other cars
be-
moving
Yeah, I
forward
think
a
it's
bit?
Could
Or
be
is it
the
just
circuit, because
Mm.
Bahrain is very straight and
Yeah.
has very particular corner styles, whereas Imola's kind of got everything about it, and it's much more unforgiving than Bahrain. But in terms of teammates and excuses of learning the car, someone that doesn't have that is Bottas, who plonked it in P8. What is
Yeah.
going on there?
Not a great weekend for Bottas, I will say.
Well, he didn't even
Yeah.
he didn't even go forward in the race. That's the thing.
Yeah, he was
It's
about
weird.
to be overtaken by Williams.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the
That's
thing.
like,
That is so
oh.
bad.
that is the
If you think
reality
about
check
it.
on that.
Mm.
Yeah, and that was. I mean, I think he might have just pitted, because we saw when Hamilton pitted for slicks, he had very cold tyres for a while, didn't he? And
Yeah.
was very slow on his outlap. And maybe that was the same for Bottas. But even so, like,
I remember, I think
he got undercut by Russell.
I remember in the
think,
commentary
basically.
they were saying Bottas's tyres have just warmed up. Or it was something like that. Like not long
Yeah,
before the crash. Like I remember them saying it, I just can't exactly remember when.
The W12 does seem chronic for warming its tyres.
Yeah.
And that is a bit of a concern of mine going into some of the races elsewhere in the
Hamilton,
calendar.
I think he legitimately lost about 4 seconds to Verstappen on the outlap after he pitted for slicks, and that was without traffic. And I assume that was the same for Bottas, but even so, I mean, we're going back to qualifying. He was less than half a second off, wasn't he? But I guess that's not unheard of for him to be half a second off Hamilton. You know, to be fair, he does tend to be within sort of a tenth, doesn't he, a lot of the time?
Yeah.
But just for whatever reason, because there's still in race pace, we saw with Hamilton coming through, there's a bit of a gap, isn't there, between Mercedes and Red Bull and the rest. But in qualifying, I mean, we genuinely could have had Lando Norris on pole. Like, it was entirely possible. And I guess when Bottas is half a second off Hamilton, that now leaves him in 8th rather than, second, third.
But I don't think we would have seen Lando on pole.
I think front row was possible.
Yeah,
second or third, I think he would have got.
Yeah. I think his time would have put him third.
It would have been third, yeah. But
yeah, I think so.
1:14.454
would have put him above Max. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be half a tenth off pole.
100 behind Sergio.
When I saw him,
we haven't even spoken about it yet.
Because we saw the purple first sector, didn't we, for Norris? And I was like, well, he's been quick there all weekend.
Yeah, the McLaren's looked untouchable.
And then when I saw
first sector.
purple in the middle sector, and not just purple, it was a 10th and a half, wasn't it?
Eyebrows went up at that point.
Yeah.
Which this weekend, if you think about it, that's a big margin, a 10th and a half. I thought he was going to be on pole.
When he was coming around the last corner and the timings disappeared, I was like, oh my god, he's going to do it. He's getting thrilled.
Martin Brundle's confidence
still good
as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he moved up into second, and then it just you seen that wee pop up race control.
I was like,
I was kind of
dear.
I was kind of in my mind. I was like, well, surely then everyone's not really showing their hand. If he's going to go in front of the Mercedes, then that's quite worrying for them, because surely it means Red Bull have got a lot more to come. Verstappen and Perez are going to go 1 and 2. But no, he was genuinely like, I mean, it's not impossible. He could have been on pole, is it?
Yeah.
If you like half a tenth, I don't know if he really gained anything from the track limits.
Arguably about that much.
Yeah.
I think,
so even call it a 10th that he was. He was down on Hamilton. Yeah.
I think in an interview after qualifying, Charles said that it was like quite unfair, but rules are rules, and he didn't even gain that much because it was only like
a few
millimeters, an inch or two. So like he didn't even gain that much from just being there.
What I will say though is, how good was it to have a consistent track limits rule again?
And we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, although there was hundreds of laps being deleted.
At least they were being deleted.
At least they were. Well, in practice and qualifying for Bahrain, they were being deleted, but it wasn't for the race. We actually had a driver get a track limits penalty in the race.
Was it Yuki?
It was Yuki. Yeah. Yuki didn't have a good weekend.
Oh no.
Yeah, he got a 5-second time penalty. Lance got a 5-second time penalty. Sergio got a 5-second time penalty.
Kimi got
Vettel
30.
got
Vettel
got a
stop
10-second
go.
stop and go penalty,
Yeah.
and Kimi got a 30-second penalty.
Why did Kimi get his? Because I saw it on Twitter, I just can't remember why.
Yeah,
it's the rolling start infringement.
Yeah, that's. I'll bring up the document.
The long and short of it is because he spun out on the formation lap and wasn't back in the correct position by the first safety car line, he should have gone into the pits.
Yeah.
But he didn't. So because he was supposed to start like 4th or something on the grid, and he ended up dropping down to 10th, got back up into 8th by the first safety car line.
Yeah.
And because of that, he should have gone into the pits and started from the pit lane, but he didn't. So he got hit with the 30-second penalty. Yeah,
so here it is. It is a bit of confusion, as the stewards do note, in this decision. It's a bit of a contradiction in the sporting regulations. But it is a mandatory penalty, which is what they note at the very end here. So they have absolutely no choice than to apply the penalty. So yeah, Kimi spun on the formation lap, so to speak, and was therefore out of position. Say he should have been 13th, he was actually 15th. He's then supposed to retake his position like he would on a normal formation lap. But the confusion was the safety car's out. So is the lap counted as a safety car lap, or is it a formation lap? Because the rules are different. The safety car's out with its lights on, so the teams and the stewards consider it to be a safety car lap. No driver may overtake another car on the track until he passes the line. That's what it says in Article 42.12. So where's I think this is another thing that does need clarification from the FIA, is that are you allowed to overtake to regain your position for a rolling start? Because if you're not, and it does happen again, you're just going to see another 30-second time penalty.
Admittedly, it is a very niche scenario.
Yeah.
They obviously haven't thought about this particular scenario.
No, exactly. Which just gives you an idea of how niche it probably is.
Seems a bit harsh.
Because I mean, we had Charles spun on the actual formation lap.
Yep.
But managed to regain his position. Yeah. So he was fine to start where he was. But then under the safety car, Sergio spun and overtook Gasly and Ricciardo, but wasn't supposed to because that's under the safety car.
That was just a big no-no, because that was a standard full safety car.
If you look at his onboards though, it's like Ricciardo and Gasly like stopped to let him through.
Yeah, they did slow down. Either that or they just looked slowed down because Sergio just blitzed past them.
I think there was another bit of confusion there.
But yeah, no, that was a big no-no, and that was a smack penalty. There was no question about that one. No, for Perez, that one was easy. But the Raikkonen one, the stewards just had no choice. It's defined in the sporting regulations as a mandatory penalty, so they had to apply it. It's a mandatory drive-through, but because it was after the race, 30-second time penalty.
Yeah.
So he's got the penalty for not overtaking, like re-overtaking and gaining position. Yeah, that seems, considering what Perez got penalised for earlier in the race.
It's because it's different scenarios. Like the Kimi one is considered to be a race start, whereas the Perez one's just a safety car infringement.
Why didn't we have a standing start anyway?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think on the commentary they were saying that, is it Michael Massey, the race director? Yeah. He was saying how like it was something to do with like the conditions on track, and how right at the start something to do with like the tires would be too cold, and then just the conditions on track wouldn't have been suitable for the standing start. I think that's what he said.
I
guess there's probably
my
a
view
distinctive
is,
dry line, isn't there?
my view is that if the conditions are safe enough for DRS, then it should have been safe enough for a standing start.
Yeah, but even when we did the rolling restart, DRS didn't come on for another good few laps after that.
Well, it'd be another 2 laps after the restart, as is standard
But
race.
it was definitely longer than that, though.
I think so.
I think the issue was,
I would need to check, but yeah.
I think the issue was whoever happened to be in a grid slot that was on the dry racing line would have had such an advantage.
Yeah.
That's probably it. And you can imagine, like we saw every time, Hamilton went offline, didn't he, to lap Russell,
went in the wall,
and then
slid off the track. Yeah, I think that probably would have happened down to turn 1 for literally anyone. Someone goes to the inside, tries to outbrake someone, but they're on the wet patch.
Speaking of Hamilton in the wall, that
lucky boy.
Yes,
that was close.
Incredibly lucky, and the timing of the red flag couldn't have been better. Because it meant he got a free repair pit stop,
and he got to unlap himself.
Yes,
by 1 lap.
Well, what I was seeing on Twitter is that he wasn't a full lap down. Max was about to lap him, but wasn't quite there.
I suppose that depends on what order they come into in the pits.
Yeah.
Like if Max's car is in front of Lewis's, then Lewis has been lapped.
Yeah, the honest answer is I didn't see the order they were in the pits. Max was immediately behind the safety car, but I think he got picked up by the safety car, whereas Lewis would sort of be trying to catch up sort of thing. But yeah, he was allowed to go out and unlap himself. And there seemed to be a lot of, I feel, unnecessary debate about drivers being allowed to unlap themselves.
Literally, we do it every other time.
Yeah, it's only an issue when it benefits Hamilton.
Yeah.
We do it behind the safety car, if conditions permit, and we do it for race restarts. And the reason it happens for a race restart is you need to be on the same lap.
Yeah.
You can't be restarting a race not on the lead lap.
Welcome to the NASCAR. These guys are starting on lap 250. The other guys are still on lap 1.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't work.
No.
But no, I found that a bit ridiculous because literally every other time we let the lapped cars go, nobody bats an eyelid.
Yeah.
But just because Lewis happened to be lapped on this one occasion, people were like, do we need to relook at this rule? No.
Yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? But
there are rules that we need to look at, like Kimmy's penalty. This isn't one of them.
Yeah, well, obviously there was the whole debate about after Germany 2018 about can you go into the pit or can you come back on the track after you cross the white line? I mean, suddenly that's apparently a big talking point, even though it's happened before.
It was a sort of a loophole in a way because
he did get a reprimand because it is against the sport and regulations, but he didn't do it in an unsafe manner. Whereas the incident that everyone referred to, I can't remember who it was, but it was in Baku. And we all know Baku's pit entry. It's on a fast straight. You're going nearly 200 miles an hour. Drivers with DRS open, full ERS deployment, absolutely gunning it up the straight. And behind the safety car, in the wet, on a slow speed corner as it is in Germany, which is why a reprimand and a penalty were appropriate for each one. There's just no point in being like, oh, do we need to change this rule? Because no, we don't.
No, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's just the double standards, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we always get towards Hamilton. But speaking of Hamilton, I think his race was a large part of the talking points, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Started from pole, got taken by Max into turn 1, pushed wide a wee bit.
I still think he should have backed out of that. Yeah. Max is never going to give him an inch.
Yeah, I mean, as a Hamilton supporter, I have no problem with it. Like,
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, Max did take all the track, but it's lap 1.
Yeah,
sort of thing. Like, it's going to happen. It's lap 1.
You could see it coming, and I was very much in my mind that he's going to, spin out or lose his front wing, or be in the gravel or something.
He had what, end plate damage?
Yeah, it was a small bit at the end plate.
Probably
actually, it was off the curb, not off Max.
Yeah.
There was no contact.
Lost a load of little bits off the floor as well. So,
and then he then sort of just circulated in second for a bit. Tried the overcut on Max, basically just do whatever he didn't do. Slow stop for Mercedes. If he hadn't been stationary for that extra 1.5 seconds, he probably would have got out in the lead.
We spoke about that after Bahrain, didn't we?
Again,
pit stops. And
it was a 4-second stop for Mercedes.
That was then the reason why he would have come out in front was because the tyre warm up. Like I said, he lost about 4 seconds, didn't he? So he'd probably been repassed, I reckon. On the
then we do know how difficult it is to pass around Imola.
Yeah. I mean, he would have just had to stay on the dry line, but
then with the extended DRS that we had this year, it might have been a bit easier.
His pace was ridiculous at like certain points, wasn't it? I was just before. It was unfortunate because if they had to stay on inters for a bit longer, he was catching so quickly, wasn't he? Just as it was starting to dry up.
Yeah.
And then obviously the traffic was very, very awkward for the whole time. But yeah. And then obviously lap 32 arrived, didn't it?
33, I think it was. It was just before the Bottas incident. Yeah. We basically cut straight from Hamilton reversing onto the track to Bottas's pits.
Well, because Russell's obviously, been sort of involved in the Hamilton going off. And by the time Hamilton's back out of the gravel, he's almost done a full lap.
Yeah.
I think the way the way Lewis came off on the track, like in the press conference afterwards, I see why when he explained it, I see why he did just reverse onto the track. But like at the time, it was like he's reversing onto the track. What? No, that's quite dangerous.
I've seen another debate where people were like, "Oh, should it be black flagged?" No, because he didn't even break the sporting regs. The sporting regulations simply state that you have to rejoin the track safely, which he did. He stayed off the racing line. He approached at a slow pace. He basically made it clear that he was reversing onto a live circuit.
It's not like it's a blind corner as well, is it?
Yeah.
Like, all the other drivers were going to see him there. So
other drivers probably would have been told as well because
exactly.
Yeah. So like,
there was nothing he done that was unsafe, so he did not break the sporting regulations.
But like when it was happening, I was like, he's reversing onto a track because we couldn't see if any cars were coming.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh dear. But when he explained it, I was like,
it would have been a bit of a
makes
heart
sense.
in the mouth moment watching it live.
Yeah.
I had to watch the race on tape. I was at work, so I didn't get the live. Oh my god, he's reversing onto a track because I knew he'd done it.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to live footage of the absolute wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much debris on the track. As soon as I saw the shot from down the track,
it
I was
took
like,
as long to red flag it though.
Yeah.
They deployed the safety car, and then we're like, oh, maybe we should red flag it. I thought when you seen the shot of all the debris, it would just be red flag.
Yeah.
But
especially like
I think what they were trying to do was, if you remember Spa last year when Giovinazzi and Russell had that massive incident out of Poulon, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was debris all over the circuit, and they're just like, safety car. We'll just keep going.
Well, yeah, but Spa's massive.
Yeah, the drivers were going through that at like 3 miles an hour, trying not to puncture their tires. Some of the drivers were on the radio like, "Why have they not red flagged this? There's debris everywhere."
To be fair, though, by the time they'd actually done a lap behind the safety car, because it was just the people that were behind those two that had to drive through it. By the time they'd done a lap, there was half the track cleared so that they had a line.
I think the leaders had a bit of an issue coming through as well. Because I remember sitting watching Lewis going through and be like, "You've already raced on 3 tyres once this year. Don't do it again." But
I think Kimi and Mick were quite lucky to like not get caught in that.
Yeah.
Because especially with all the debris and Mick being a rookie as well.
Have you heard Mick's radio?
Yeah, he was
after he came through.
He was basically begging for them to check, make sure the car was okay.
Asking if the drivers were okay as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mick's radio, though,
I am Mick's engineer.
How good was his engineer?
Oh yeah.
He was just cracking all weekend.
There's the meme that got circulated, and it's the Gordon Ramsay one. Engineers dealing with Mick. Oh dear, gorgeous. Engineers dealing with Mazepin. You donkey! And it's like that is prime.
Yeah.
That is exactly it. And it's like I went through the live replay, found Nikita Mazepin's radio from lap 9. His race engineer says, "Tyre temps are coming up. How is the grip? How is the track condition?" He responds, "Getting better. If you let me focus, that would be great." Wow.
Yeah, Mazepin is not experienced enough to tell his engineer to shut up.
No.
Yeah,
Drivers like Lewis, Max, they've earned the right to go, "Shut up, Jeff."
Yeah.
Mazepin has not.
I would see why if Mazepin was racing, because I've seen clips of like Lando, I think Lance doing the same, where like they're racing, just saying "shut up, let me race" to concentrate. But it's Nikita Mazepin,
who was a long way ahead of Mick after Mick binned his front wing, and then still finished like 30 seconds behind him.
Yeah.
It's not as if Mazepin being left to focus has helped.
No, it didn't change, right?
Yeah.
Oh god, I've just got like a full page of notes of what happened, and it's just someone hit the wall, someone spun. What?
Wow.
So, I mean, at the start of the race, there was the tire choice debacle, because obviously it wasn't raining that much, but it had rained heavily. I think there was 4 cars that went on full wets, and everyone else went on inters. So Ocon, Gasly, and both the Haas drivers went on full wets. Ocon pitted under the first safety car, I think.
I think
he
so.
pitted right at the start.
Yeah, he pitted on lap 1 and changed for inters. And then Schumacher couldn't come into the pits after he lost his front wing because the pit lane was closed, because the exit was blocked by debris, which was Mick's front wing.
See, I was a bit confused on that, because if I remember the sport and regulations, if you've got damage, then you're allowed to box under pit lane entry closed.
That's what we were saying on the voice chat at the time. It's like, why hasn't he come in? I thought you could, if you had damage, you were allowed, but at the same time, nothing extra was falling off his car. So,
but then you literally had a bit bouncing off the track that could have detached and went anywhere.
Dangly bit of wire, that was fine.
Well, it was sparking quite a lot, so
it's fine. he's at the back of the grid at that point anyway. Like,
I suppose.
But then that shows the difference between Ocon and Gasly, though, because Ocon got brought in and changed for inters, and that worked. And Gasly got hung out to dry on a set of full wets. And they remarked about it in commentary, saying that he was a full 8 seconds a lap slower than the cars in front of him at one point.
I think he then got re-overtaken by Ocon before he pitted. Bear in mind, Ocon had pitted for inters, and then all the other cars had to come through as well.
Yeah, so not great.
AlphaTauri,
not a great choice by them.
AlphaTauri dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, they could have had a lot more points than they've had so far this season for one reason or another. But Gasly still, to be fair, 7th. Still,
no, it's pretty good.
So, if my understanding of the sport and regulations are correct, just coming quickly back to the Mick thing, under exceptional circumstances, the race director may ask for the pit entry to be closed during the race for safety reasons, which he did. At such times, drivers may only enter the pit lane in order for essential and entirely evident repairs to be carried out to the car. A penalty under Article 38.3D will be imposed on any driver who, in the opinion of the stewards, entered the pit lane for any other reason while it was closed, i.e. Lewis and Monza. Yes. I would say not having a front wing is an essential and entirely evident repair to the car.
I would wholeheartedly agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Definitely could have pitted.
Yep.
Yeah. But then he literally would have had to run over his own debris to get out unless he crossed the line.
And then you would have got another penalty.
Again, you're allowed to do.
Or would there have been a red light at the end of the pit lane?
Exit.
No.
That would have been so dangerous.
Could have closed the pit exit.
Because then he would have just been sat there and then just would have been lapped. So maybe that's why they didn't.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the entry that was closed. That wasn't the issue. It was the exit. So I think would it have been a situation like Canada in 2007 where Lewis ran up the back of Kimi?
Yeah.
would have been that sort of incident where you had red light at the end of the pit lane.
You normally like flagged into, isn't it like the black flag with the yellow disc in the middle?
Yes, black flag with the orange
hit.
disc. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised he wouldn't.
It's pit now, serious damage.
Hamilton had it for his headrest, didn't he?
Yeah.
Time. So,
the flag that the marshal next to the front wing was waving was the slippery track surface one, though. It was a yellow and orange striped.
Yeah, yellow and red stripe flag is
kind of like, oh yeah, it's slippery. There's a really great front wing just sat there.
Yeah. I think that's sort of automatic, and it is usually race control that tell the marshals what flags to fly anyway.
I mean, you don't just get to go free for all. Oh, there should be double waved yellows. Let's wave a green.
Yeah.
Let's cause chaos.
Although I do think it's marshals that control the light panels. I think it's the senior flag marshal has just sort of a panel in his wee box, and he just presses it and be like, double waved yellow. Green flag.
You can have a black flag.
Well, there's the only place that the black flag is in the starters box.
Oh, is it?
The black flag with the orange disc. There's another one as well. There's definitely another type of flag, but yeah, they're only kept in the starters post, along with a wee board with every driver's number. Because it's the flag along with the driver's number that goes out. We haven't seen a black flag since Canada 2007, I think it was, when Massa and Fisichella got disqualified for exiting the pit lane while the pit entry was closed. So I don't think that was the Hamilton race, because he won that race.
Yeah, it was Canada 2007. You're right.
Yeah.
That was back when you couldn't pit. Was it? You couldn't pit.
Yeah, you couldn't pit under the safety car
even if
for
you had no
couple
fuel.
of laps. Yeah.
So literally, if you ran out, even if you ran out of fuel, or if you're going to run out of fuel, you had to pit.
Yeah.
And then take a stop go penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, because a couple of drivers did get caught out by that for pitting when the pit entry was closed.
Yeah.
And then equally, you couldn't. Well, now you can exit the pit. While the Crocodiles coming up, you couldn't do that in 2007 either. That's why the pit entry was closed, and Massa and Fisichella were just like, let's go. Kubica waited, and then Kubica had that massive accident later on in the race.
Oh yeah, that was huge.
Where his car was like ripped to shreds. You could actually see his feet sticking out the bottom of the nose cone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
If you've not seen it, go look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, I think I have
crash.
seen it. I think I have seen it, but I didn't know his feet were sticking out.
Yeah, you can just see them at the bottom. It was fine somehow.
He just got injured doing rallying a few days later.
Yeah.
Because he nearly collected the Toro Rosso that had been taken off the track of Scott Speed, if you remember him. Yeah, it was the Toro Rosso. Scott Speed was just sitting at the side, and then all of a sudden, Kubica's car's doing barrel rolls up to the hairpin. Speaking of Montreal, though, we'll come away from Imola. I think we've sort of summed up the race pretty much.
Well, we didn't talk about the podium.
No, we'll come back to predictions.
We'll come back to predictions.
Red flag, but
we didn't.
We've done the first
really
half.
Yeah, that was
red flag.
All
I
the
think
spins that happened.
Yeah, Lando did really well to keep off Charles and Lewis for 20 laps. I think he kept the both of them off for 20 laps. I think.
Yeah,
he did 32 laps on a set of used soft tyres.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were not brand new softs, those were used, and he did another 32 laps on them.
Well, the whole point of that strategy was to get in front of Leclerc at the restart, wasn't it? And then basically hold it. Which, I mean,
I got so worried when he said he had vibrations, though.
Oh yeah, so did I. I was like, oh god.
I was just waiting for it to blow up from that.
Could have even won the race if Max didn't manage to save his half spin.
Yeah.
That was.
I mean, the bit where Lewis had overtaken Charles and he was quite close to Lando, it was inevitable that he was going to overtake him, but at that same time, it was also guaranteed that Lando was going to get the podium because Charles had been left behind essentially after Lewis.
Charles had basically cooked his tires trying to keep Lewis behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd already dropped back like 4 seconds or something.
Yeah.
So
it was basically
Ferrari,
inevitable that Lewis was going to go past him, but Lando was going to get the podium either way.
5 laps, Lewis was directly behind Lando. He overtook Charles on lap 54-55, looking at this lap chart, and then overtook Lando on 59-60. And then posted fastest lap just for a laugh as well.
Yeah.
Because why not?
We spoke about the DRS last week, didn't we?
Yeah, and there was an extended DRS zone. Yeah. But, they moved it back and it became overpowered.
It was too far back, wasn't it, in the end? But I have to say, if we go on to like touching the McLaren Ferrari battle, I mean, first of all, I think it's refreshing to see there was second, third, and fourth. McLaren, Ferrari for a while.
Yeah.
Before Hamilton obviously came through, which was very nice to see, I think. Also, I think
it was nice to see some overtaking in Imola as well.
Yeah, I think all of those drivers have taken a massive step forward in terms of their own performance. Well, Leclerc maybe he was already doing very well, but I mean Lando Norris, I think everyone said Daniel Ricciardo was going to destroy him, didn't they?
Yeah.
Obviously, he's new to the team and all that, but it was a massive. He finished about 30 seconds ahead of him after the restart, and it was about 30 laps, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was when they let him through 2 laps later, he was already 4 seconds in front of Danny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, he really wasn't joking. He was seconds quicker.
This is a much improved Lando Norris again, having it also improved in his second year, I think.
Yeah.
So, someone was saying he could break 200 points in the championship at this rate, which is, I can't really do the maths.
I'm not going to say no, because that would probably mean that my McLaren 5 podiums prediction is going to come right. So
I'm not even going to try and do the maths on what he needs for that. But
he's got 27 at the moment,
and we're 2 races in.
and we're 2 races in, leaving 21. So 27 every 2 races would mean that he clears 200
he'd do well
on
to get that.
race 20, basically. Race 10? No, race 20.
Yeah, I don't know, but either way, I think he's on for a good season. That's what
I think once Daniel also gets used to the car and the team and everything, I think he'll be up there as well. Like I said before, he just needs to get used to the car.
Yeah, well, I think that's definitely true. He'll there's no way he'll be that far back the whole year. But
I think with a lot of people's predictions of Danny basically beating Lando, I think that's going to come later in the season.
Yeah.
Because he needs time to develop in the car as well and get used to his driving style in that car and everything.
Yeah.
Well,
I think. Go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say I think that the Ferrari teammate battle is going to get closer as well. So long as Sainz can stop emulating his dad and doing some off-roading, because it was just like every time we cut to Sainz, he was taking a detour. Through the grass, through the gravel.
At some point, they broadcast his team radio, and they were basically saying, "You're going too fast. Slow down."
Yeah.
I think he said he was too cautious in Bahrain, didn't he? But they wanted to take more risks. But it was his first time driving the car in the wet. But then, obviously, after the red flag, he was right with Leclerc. Obviously, perhaps Norris's dying soft tyres helped with that a bit. But if we're speaking about teammate battles and new drivers to teams settling in, I think, am I right in saying that in every team where there's one new driver and one driver that they had before, the driver that's been with the team for longer finished ahead this weekend?
This weekend.
Work that out in their head.
This weekend.
I think that's
race
right.
Result. Verstappen further ahead.
Hamilton think that's true. It is true. The championship as well.
It's true in the race as well.
In the race, yeah.
Yeah, it's true in the championship and true in the race.
Yeah. So Sainz, I think he did a brilliant job. To be fair,
at the end he was
2
seconds, or just under 2 seconds off Charles.
Yeah, if you look at, obviously Perez did well in qualifying, didn't he? But he had the same. He was sort of, if you like, gifted the same opportunity as Hamilton of recovering a lot of lost ground.
Yeah.
Perez, really should have finished second, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
If you think about it, and threw it away. Obviously, Ricciardo was miles off the pace. Look at Vettel, the way he struggled, as we'll probably come on to in a moment. Alonso doesn't really look the same, does he? I think that's something we're going to have to accept. We're not maybe going to get the same Alonso.
I mean, I don't know. I think that might be quite early to judge. He did score points.
Only because Raikkonen got a penalty.
Yeah,
but points are points. Like,
yeah, true. Exactly.
When you look at it, it's the number that matters at the end of the season.
Yes.
And it's not how you got the points;
Yeah.
it's the fact that you scored points.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to
And we have only had 2 races. I still think it's a bit early to judge how Alonso's going to do.
Yeah, it's definitely early to judge these things. But if you, obviously, the easy
and also when you think about it, Alonso's only really had 1 race because of a sandwich wrapper.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah,
the easy comparison to draw is the Schumacher's comeback, isn't it, to Mercedes, and we know how that turned out. But I think we need to be realistic. You know, the old Alonso doesn't spin on the lap to the grid, or as the safety car's being deployed. You know, we saw the shot, didn't we, of him?
Yeah.
Here's
a crash. Zoom out. Alonso.
We're looking at the W12 of Bottas and absolute bits, and then it just zooms out. Oh, there's Alonso.
Yeah, and
in
back
the
when you
gravel.
could just see George walking across, like, oh no, the girls are fighting.
Did you see the TikTok that Formula One's account put out?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But everyone thought George was going over to check on Valtteri.
I saw that as well. Then I saw he was hit his helmet. I was like, oh.
He just slaps him. You're like, George, what have you done?
I didn't realise Valtteri flipped him off until I saw on Twitter afterwards. And we saw the replay. I was like, oh.
That's what confused me, because I was listening along and Crofty was like, we're sorry if Bottas's actions offended anyone. And it's like, what? I missed that.
Yeah,
what did he do? Because it was
Yeah.
like his hand was obscured by the halo.
Yeah.
You couldn't really see. You just saw the tip of his finger.
Yeah, I seen George slap Bottas. Why are we apologising about Bottas?
Yeah.
We're sorry if being hit on the helmet offends you.
I just love the way Russell's gone over to him. I mean, Bottas is, like winded, gathering his thoughts. He's been slapped on the head.
Yeah.
Take that.
Yeah, I think that was a bit stupid to do, because he's just been in quite a big crash. He don't know if he's okay, and then you just go bonk, because oh dear.
Well, in fairness, I think George knew that he was okay because he did get flipped off by Bottas.
Yeah, I think at that I think at that point he had looked up and stuff. So I think he kind of gathered he was okay, but at the same time it's like, dude, no, just been in a big crash.
I think. Well, Russell apologised, didn't he, on Twitter today? I think
he did.
It wasn't his greatest moment, was it? But I think he's a good character. He'll learn from that sort of thing.
To be honest,
he's the GDPA.
I think you'd be annoyed at anyone if you crashed at 200 miles an hour.
I think it was just the emotions running high, and especially because it just happened. The emotions were running really high and everything.
Well, yeah, because we've seen scraps at the side of the grid, at the side of the track before. I can't remember who it was actually fought.
There's 2 of them on the track.
Throwing
punches and kicks.
One of the classic old clips, Nelson Piquet, someone or something.
Oh yeah, it was Piquet. But the one that always sticks in my mind is Schumacher storming down the pit lane to confront Coulthard.
Murray's commentary on that was prime.
Yeah. Wasn't there one with was it Jarno Trulli and Adrian Sutil, years ago when they crashed in Brazil, and they had a bit of an argument at the side of the track, didn't they? And then they got them in the press conference in the next race. And I think, was it Trulli brought up a newspaper article or something? And everyone's saying, "Oh, do that with Bottas and Russell."
Can we please have Bottas and Russell in the next press conference?
I saw people on Twitter were like, "Please have them together," because this was the first race they put different people from different teams, wasn't it?
Yeah. What would have made that better though is if it was a double header.
Oh yes, instead of this one we get just straight in.
It was literally 4 days afterward, and they're sitting in the same room.
They just see each other in the paddock, just like.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying though. The other day, if we're thinking about this with the connotations of the Mercedes seat going forward, I mean, we know the reason why Bottas came in. One of the reasons was because they didn't want to have animosity like Hamilton Rosberg. I mean, are they really going to want? I know this is one incident. They've probably I think George Russell said he was going to phone him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which they've probably done. But is Toto really going to want something that could potentially kick off like this if Hamilton was to retire at the end of this year, when the no-brainer would be Russell in with Bottas?
just on Toto, did you see his quote saying if you do well for Mercedes, you'll get the seat? If not, it's the Renault Clio Cup. And then the Renault Sport Twitter replied with an application for George Russell to compete in the Clio Cup.
Yeah, didn't they say, like, you fill out the form, we'll pay for the entry fee?
Yeah,
that was good.
I just found it funny as well because with the Formula Regional this weekend, the safety car is a Renault Clio.
Yeah. Speaking of the safety car, I still find it quite funny. The fact that now when the safety car deploys, it says above it AMG or Aston Martin. Whereas before you get the sort of yellow swivel and as the box appears safety car. Now you get the yellow swivel AMG safety car.
You can see with like the little, it shows like the little car underneath
different
it.
as well.
It's different for each car. I love it. It's great.
Gotta get those sponsorships in wherever you can.
It is quite a nice wee touch, but it's quite funny as well. Why do we have two safety cars though? Is one not enough?
Money.
Yeah.
We'll go there after what
we race as one.
We race as one. Give us another safety car.
As we spoke off air, let's not go into money after what's happened in a certain other sport.
This is Formula One.
Formula One only.
Let's look at something else.
So, let's not talk about other sports. This is Formula One. We talked about Formula One here.
Briefly before we move on.
Okay.
Timing of Vettel's penalty was a bit odd to me. He's just done his pit stop and then gets given the stop go.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what? He had a stop and go penalty just after he'd done his pit stop.
Yeah, so within 3 laps he was back in the pits to do his stop
Make it make sense, please.
I think it's just because of the investigation.
But that happened before the start of the race. It's a pretty cut and dry thing. His wheels went on with 5 minutes to go. Penalty done.
Yeah.
Like, why does it take so long?
Let's check the document.
That's what I don't get. You know,
that might have something to say on it.
It's penalties like that where it's obvious and it's stonewall, but I don't get why it takes so long. Like we waited ages for Kimi's confirmation of the penalty to come through.
I think the Kimi one as well was because of how strange the penalty was. It's like, is he in breach of the regulations because he isn't allowed to overtake, or is he not in breach of the regulations?
Yeah,
you are technically allowed to overtake in the formation lap as long as you're back in position by safety car line 1.
But he wasn't, so that's the point of he wasn't, so penalty. So
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's where the whole formation lap versus safety car lap comes into it. Because you are allowed to overtake in the formation lap, you're not on the safety car. So talking about safety cars and Aston Martin, that was not a good weekend for the outfit.
No. Penalties, brake fires, DNFs. Just I think that's one to forget for the team and then just kind of move on.
Yeah, both cars getting penalties, obviously. Seb with his 10-second stop go for all 4 wheels not being fitted at the 5-minute signal. And then also Stroll getting a penalty for leaving the track and gaining advantage. It returns.
It's good. Going off them at the moment, Aston Martin. I mean, they can't catch a break. Obviously, we had the whole drama, didn't we, leading into the weekend about Otmar once again kicking up a fuss about the legal action that he's going to take or something.
Yeah,
I can't see that going anywhere.
They're thinking about taking the FIA to court.
Even Toto wasn't supportive of it, and he's obviously, Mercedes, the other team that's lost out, supposedly.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes, isn't it? Like, it's just one of those things. You just got to deal with it and move on.
If the FIA are going to make rules about against anyone, it's going to be against Mercedes, not Aston Martin.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's not Mercedes' fault that Aston Martin copied their car.
Well, yeah,
but the FIA really shouldn't be making rules against any team.
No, but if they were not going to, but going to, it was going to be against Mercedes, not Aston Martin.
Yeah, they try and peg back the guys at the front rather than some random midfield team. So
anyway, let's round off Imola and we'll talk about the championship standings where we have some shiny graphics from Richard.
If I scooch over this side, I might leave myself space on my segment of screen to just dump them in. So after 2 rounds,
shall we start from bottom to top?
Oh, okay, yeah. After 2 rounds of races, in 20th, we have Nicholas Latifi on 0 points. In 19th, we have the number 9 driver on 0 points. 18th, Schumacher, 0 points. 17th, Vettel, 0 points. 16th, Russell, also 0 points. 15th, Giovinazzi, 0 points. 14th, Raikkonen, 0 points. 13th is Fernando Alonso with 1 singular point. 12th is his teammate Esteban Ocon, who has 2 points. 11th is Yuki Tsunoda, also on 2 points. Lance Stroll is in 10th on 5 points. 9th is Pierre Gasly on 6 points. 8th is Sergio Perez on 10 points. 7th is Daniel Ricciardo on 14 points. 6th is Carlos Sainz, also on 14 points. 5th is Valtteri Bottas on 16 points. 4th is Charles Leclerc on 20 points. 3rd is Lando Norris on 27 points. 2nd is Max Verstappen on 43 points. And leading us so far is Lewis Hamilton on 44 points.
And for the Constructors' Championship, in 10th we have Haas with 0 points. 9th we have Williams with 0 points. 8th we have Alfa Romeo Racing with 0 points. 7th is Alpine with 3 points. 6th is Aston Martin with 5 points. 5th, AlphaTauri with 8 points. 4th is Ferrari with 34 points. 3rd is McLaren Mercedes with 41 points. 2nd is Red Bull Racing with 53 points. And 1st is Mercedes with 60 points. So the streak that was set in the Germany 2018 race that we mentioned earlier still continues. They have led both championships for every round since Germany 2018. That is some record.
I have a feeling that's going to end next race.
Yeah. I mean, how Hamilton...
Where is it we're off to?
Portimao.
Yeah.
So I think it could. I mean, Hamilton's only just ahead of Verstappen at this point.
But I'm not sure how after
fastest lap. It's just the fastest lap.
Yeah, because they've both won and came second, whereas Hamilton nabbed that fastest lap point.
So Hamilton would still be first because he got his first earlier in the season, wouldn't he?
Hamilton would lead the championship on countback, even if they had a tied.
Lando Norris was third, wasn't he, after the first 2 races last year? But
it's making a habit of this.
I think that was because Verstappen had a DNF, didn't he?
Yeah.
And this time it seems a lot more legit. I think it's not as if he's not going to finish ahead of Bottas or Perez.
Yeah, it's not like he's gained positions through Lewis's 5-second penalties and 9 cars DNFing in a race or that sort of stuff. He's been there on pure pace.
Yeah, absolutely.
So. Yeah, I think that speaks volumes for not only his development but also the McLarens.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be definitely one to keep an eye on for this season.
I mean, just a quick note supporting the Formula One weekend. This week was FRECA, the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. If you want to check out those races, they're all on YouTube. Which is very good. You don't need to have a subscription or anything. Just go have a look at the FRECA YouTube page and watch the races.
Plenty of safety cars.
Oh yeah, I watched both races and they were majority safety car because they're timed races with 1 lap at the end, like Formula E, and they were majority safety car because there's like 33 cars, I think, and majority safety car.
So if you like looking at a Renault Clio, that's the place.
Isn't it is it the equivalent of Formula Renault 3.5 or whatever it was called?
It's the amalgamation of 2 series.
Because I remember when I remember when they used to have that, and that was particularly chaotic, wasn't it? I think there was one race at Imola where they literally cancelled Monza, where they literally cancelled it one weekend because there was so many crashes. Yeah,
the star power in that race is quite a lot as well. There was Charles Leclerc raced at that weekend in Monza. So did Lance Stroll.
Stroll had a big crash, didn't he?
Yeah, there's current Formula One drivers.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that like YouTube and just seeing like the most chaotic race ever.
Yeah, I think I saw the exact same video.
Where it literally came up on the timing screens. Safety car race under investigation.
Yeah,
that is something that I don't think you'll ever see again.
Just the entire thing.
Jesus.
And then the stewards just red flagged it and said the race will not restart due to driving standards.
I'm pretty sure Lord Mahavir was in the race as well.
He was.
That makes it significantly more understandable.
I think Callum Ilott was on the grid as well, actually.
Yeah, it was a good grid.
Sergio Seti Camara. There was lots of good drivers in
just not
grid,
for that race.
and it was just chaos. But yeah, that was an interesting weekend, and I think that was Formula 3 before it was FIA Formula 3. I'm not sure what championship it was. Yeah. Because their graphics and stuff certainly seem to indicate Formula 3. But I don't know if it was just a full Formula 3 championship or if it was the sort of 3.5, which is where FRECA sits, because it's one above Formula 4, but it's below FIA Formula 3.
Yeah.
So it's just...
It's like the other Formula 3 regionals in a way. Like we've got F3 British, F3 Asia, that sort of stuff. It's on a similar playing field to that. So... Should we go over our predictions and see how well we stacked up?
I don't have mine to hand.
I've got everyone's. It's okay. I've got everyone's written down. So we're going to do a thing where if you get a driver, if you predicted a driver on the podium but you didn't get the position right, you get a single point per driver you predicted. If you get the correct driver in the correct position, you'll get 3 points for that driver. And if you get all 3 right in the right order, you will get 15 points, which means that Alex, you're in 6th place with one single point.
One? Oh, I get one.
You got Hamilton on the podium.
Oh, Hamilton, yeah.
In joint, what would that be? Joint 4th is Chris and Nia on 2 points for getting Hamilton and Verstappen on the podium. In joint 2nd place is myself and Ben, who got the 1-2 of Verstappen Hamilton right. And then our graphic designer, who's completely just waltzed in, blitzed it, and waltzed off again, predicted the exact podium and stormed into the lead after the first round with 15 points. So we've got a lot of work to do, guys.
Yes, we do.
Obviously, just to clarify, we're not including Bahrain because we didn't do this for Bahrain.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
And it doesn't get any better for me when we look at anything like F1 Fantasy, the crazy predictions, anything like that. Apart from, I think, after 2 rounds, my Constructors is exactly as I said. But that's the only thing, because I said Alfa Romeo in Q3, and they both went out in Q1. Obviously, I said Verstappen to DNF because it was in Italy, and that
you almost got that.
Well, yeah, I mean, he almost went out, didn't he? But yeah, the less said about and I brought in Perez in my fantasy, and made him the turbo, and unturboed Lando Norris.
Speaking of fantasy, shall we review the scores? So, Richard, we all had a bit of a fun jab at you last week because one of your teams done absolutely atrociously.
Now it's your turn.
No, well, it's not quite. I'm not in last.
Yeah. In my defense, I made this team in between each. So I didn't do Bahrain for Traffic Paradise.
So,
I'm still last. Oh,
yeah, you are still last.
Yes. Not too far away, but I'm still last.
You've got that from 1 week, and the one above's from 2.
Yeah.
So from bottom to top, in 8th place we have Nia with Traffic Paradise, which is a very good score for only having done one race. Let's bring up this team, see who you've got. Turbo Driver Norris, that makes sense.
Shock the McLaren fan, Turbo Drivers Norris.
Yeah. We had the coat.
Although minus if Russell had at least finished, your score would have been even better again.
Yeah.
Might have been better Turbo Driver and Verstappen though.
You can't Turbo Driver.
Oh yeah, you can't.
I would have chosen
Mega
Verstappen.
Driver.
Yeah, I would have chosen Verstappen, but go Orlando.
So the team that got jabs for 67 points done significantly better in Imola.
Yeah, boy.
Was there any changes to your team?
Not that one question mark. No, I changed pedal to the Vettel. Which was my top scoring team. I got rid of Esteban Ocon and put in Yuki Tsunoda.
Well, we'll get to pedal to the Vettel. In sixth is me. This wasn't a good race weekend, as you can see by the difference in scores. I was third in Bahrain. I was last in Imola.
The second worst weekly score.
Still not the worst though, Richard.
Give it time. Give it time. Someone's going to have a worse week than
Russell had a mare. Mercedes had a mare. Perez had a mare. It was not a good week for this team. Fifth is Richard, team number 2.
Like the stamp.
Which didn't do much better.
Yeah, I've got Bottas and Perez in that team, and Perez is my turbo driver.
Yeah.
But that's just a big S there.
Yeah. So there's -9 points for Bottas.
Should have turbo drivered, like, literally anyone but Perez.
You should have turbo drivered Bottas.
No, he's one of the ones you can't, isn't it?
I wasn't allowed.
You can't turbo driver Hamilton, Bottas, and Verstappen.
But you can Perez.
You can Perez.
Holy mac and cheese balls with a couple of subs.
Yeah, I changed Verstappen for Perez for Verstappen. I can't remember what else I changed.
Did you not change this to the McLaren car? Was that not
no?
I think I
changed. I might have changed Lando to Daniel.
We can check because we can view your team from Bahrain.
Oh, I changed Schumacher for Russell as well.
Yes.
That's an F.
Yeah, that is an F.
I was just thinking that. I was like...
But it was still a very good score for the race week. 116 points. Which is only good enough for 6th, but it is still a very good score.
Yeah, my second one did a lot better.
Yeah, 174.
Yeah.
I got lucky that both of my high scores have come from the same team so far.
Now into the podium places.
How am I third?
Alex is in third with 137 points from Imola.
Yeah, well, like I said, I bought in
Hamilton doing bets. Yeah,
I bought in Perez for, I can't remember who for. It was for Alonso, and then I took out Russell for Raikkonen.
Yeah, so you took out Alonso, Russell,
because I thought Alfa Romeo
changed
were
your
like
chassis. Yeah,
and then I had to do AlphaTauri because for money. But I thought that sub thing. I thought you got 6 every week. So I don't know.
We'll find out next week.
We'll find out if it updates or not.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll find out.
And second, we have Ben, who put in quite a decent team.
He's
been pulled up by Verstappen and the Red Bull car. But yeah, 234 points thanks to his turbo driver and Gasly, and Leclerc doing bits as well with those 28 points. But then we have Richard, 211 points.
Pulling in the big numbers this week.
Yep. Verstappen, a turbo driver Norris, and the McLaren car. It was just, yeah.
It's annoying. I could have had more if I hadn't put Tsunoda in and I'd put someone like Mick in instead. But
yeah. So
there's always going to be that. I could have had more.
Yeah, but you still won.
Yes.
Yeah, you still won. You won,
still
Imola.
In the lead.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So I've got, what is that? I've got a 25-point advantage over Ben now.
Yep.
And I've still got my new driver available.
Remember, 25 points can vanish in a race.
Yes. It's going to be a long season for this.
Yes, but we'll keep you up to date after every race. But just finally, never fear, for it is still race week. Although we have no Formula 1 this weekend, Formula E is off to Valencia. What's your thoughts? Will you be watching the race?
I hopefully will.
That will depend on how much of my dissertation I have done between now and then.
Imagine doing uni work. That's definitely not the reason I miss Freca.
Going to uni and haircuts again like last week.
Oh god.
What'd you guys think? Nice and trim.
Yes,
I need one to be
have like
honest.
long hair all the way out this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have another double header in the Valencia E-Prix.
I would just like to point out, before the recording, Chris said to us, "It's still race week." The three of us were like,
What?
Oh, yeah.
which formula? What? Where? What? We were
It's
all
because
really
I've
confused.
got like the calendar I wrote out for the plans of the podcast like sat upright on next to my Xbox, so I can just see it, and it says next week, Dream Circuits. No Grand Prix. What's going on here?
More on that in a moment. But yeah, so action gets underway in Valencia at 9:45 in the morning.
Oh, I'm definitely not seeing it then.
On Saturday for
Is that-
qualifying.
What time's the race?
The race starts at 1:30.
Oh, that's not too bad. I'll be awake.
At least
by
that's
see
when
that.
coverage
Yeah,
starts.
I'll be awake by
Two
then.
o'clock lights out probably then, won't it?
Yeah, it'll be roughly 2 o'clock for lights out. If you want to watch FP1, it starts at 6:15 in the morning.
Nope.
No.
On the
No.
Formula E YouTube channel.
No.
I think the
I've
only
never
ones
watched
I
the
will be
race.
getting up for are Japan and Australia.
Oh yeah, I haven't had to do that in so long. So Japan, I think Japan 2019 was the last time.
I've never had to
Um,
do it. So, oh god.
You do now.
night, I
Welcome to
remember
the club.
Oh joy.
was it?
Set your alarms for 3:30 in the
that's-
morning for FP1.
I remember being at uni for that Japan race, and because they postponed qualifying, didn't they?
Yeah, to the Sunday.
That was 1 a.m. and then the race was at like 5 or 6, wasn't it? That was
See,
quite something.
for Australia, I probably won't go to bed for FP1 because it kicks off at like 1:30 in the morning. So I'll just stay up and then get a couple hours sleep and be like, haha, FP2.
This is the problem with me doing all of my like data gathering and keeping an eye on everything, so I can report on like who binned it in which FP session. So I'm just gonna have to like I will have to stay awake until like 4 in the morning for Australia.
Well, you don't because.
But I will.
Yeah, you could record it. We don't record until the Monday after the Grand Prix, so
Rue,
you do
but
have plenty of time.
I don't have a box to record it on because I watch it on a web player.
How unfortunate.
Indeed. I don't know how quickly they upload to their on-demand section.
See, unfortunately, because we're in the UK, it doesn't get uploaded to F1 TV on demand until after the season is done.
Oh, I'm talking about the service provider.
Oh, okay. I don't know then. Is it Sky?
Yeah, but I'm using Now TV.
Oh, I think it's.
So I don't have to
immediate.
pay for the whole Sky bundle. I can literally just pay for Sky Sports.
Yeah, I think it's near enough immediate, to be honest. So yeah, practice 1 on the 19th of November, 01:30. Practice 2, 5 a.m. UK time. Get your alarms in now.
I have college on Friday, so I'm going to be dead.
Well, but do you have
Thank God.
college on Friday next year?
It depends if I am in college or not, because I want to quit, but that's for the time.
That's for an off-camera conversation.
Yeah.
That's for silly season.
Yeah. And practice 1 in Japan is the 8th of October at 3:30 a.m. Practice 2 at 7 a.m.
I'm awake then, it's fine.
Is there any other major flyaway races?
Is it Singapore?
Well,
No,
Singapore's
because that's a
night
night race, so that kicks off at 8.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm looking ahead and thinking, what holidays am I going to have to book off work? Because I work Sunday evenings.
Yeah, the night race is 1 o'clock UK time for Singapore.
Yeah, I work usually, right now I work Mondays, so it's like, I have to get up at 7, it's like...
Then there's the American leg where all the races are in the evening.
Yeah, so that triple header of USA, Mexico, Brazil is probably what I'm looking at booking Sundays off for.
Yeah, because the race starts at 8 o'clock, UK time for the US Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And it's not like I can flag. On Sunday it'd be all right because the shop's shut. So I could kind of half-heartedly listen to it, but I want to be able to actually just sit down and watch it and join in, you know.
But yeah, imagine there's a red flag in the USA, we would have until midnight UK time to complete the race.
That's fine.
I'm awake by then. It's fine.
Yeah, I remember Canada 2011 when I would have been 11. But yeah, that one went on until about 1 a.m. I think.
That was a 4-hour, 1-minute race or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think longer than that, wasn't it? If you include red flags.
Oh, I thought that was.
I think that's including red flags. Yeah,
that's before they had the rule, though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you have to be done in 4 hours.
Yeah, they brought it in after that.
So, yeah, that was an interesting one.
One thing I love about just like seeing anything to do with Russia, it's just blank. The flag is just blank. I love it.
I'm waiting to see what's going to happen with Sochi. Like, is it going to be the Russian Grand Prix still?
It is.
Well, it is calendared as the Russian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But there's just a white flag.
Yeah.
I love seeing on like the Sky Sports things for their own graphics. They have all the flags and then Mazepin just blank.
RAF.
Yeah, just no. Sometimes they just don't even have a flag.
Yeah, they don't even bother with
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's the other confusing thing, because the white flag is a marshalling flag in Formula One as well, which means slow vehicle on circuit.
Well, that's ironic, isn't it?
So if someone's starting to break down and they're going quite slow, because you noticed it when Max was retiring and starting to pull to the side, you seen the white flags out, and the FIA light boards flashing white as well before they flashed double yellow. Which I quite like, the double yellow light board, the way it's the two triangles alternating. That's probably one of the best light board signals, or rain, where they've just got some raindrops.
I don't know how much the drivers would actually see at that point, because all the drivers are like, I can't see in front of me anyway.
And then the back of do you know how where they've got the wee sort of small bit in the back of the light panel where you can usually just see a flashing yellow bit? It just says rain in capital letters. It's like, in case you hadn't noticed, rain.
It's raining.
In case you can actually see this bit, it is raining.
Yeah.
In case you're looking at this instead of trying to figure out what's actually in front of you.
I think that bit's there for the marshals, so that if the marshalling post is actually behind the light panel, they can see what they've put on.
Yeah.
They know but it's quite funny. Basically. Just rain. The race time for Imola, just 2 hours 2 minutes. Is that including the red flag suspension?
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
Because race time's 2 hours. It has to be 2 hours.
Isn't the timer meant to stop during a red flag?
Well, no, because there's two different clocks. There's the total run time, and then there is the race run time.
Because the total run time is 4 hours.
Yeah.
But the race run time is usually what they class the leader's run time as. The best way to check that would be, let's go to Bahrain last year and see what the time is for that, because also we had a 45-minute red flag or something.
Yeah.
While they repaired the circuit. So, 2 hours 59 minutes for Lewis Hamilton to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. So just an hour over the scheduled time.
It's not bad for the size of the shunt it was.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Monza race wasn't that long either, was it? Repairing all the tyres.
Always the shortest.
Monza.
I'm thinking when Charles has absolutely chucked it into.
Yeah.
So
it's quite confusing looking at last year's, because Italy appears 3 times, so it's trying to find the right Italian Grand Prix.
An hour 47.
Yeah,
it was still under 2 hours.
Yeah.
I suppose with the tyres, it was probably easier to put back together because they just had to bring in more tyres. But with Romain's crash, they had to find a good substitute for the metal barriers.
They had to get some they had to remove the metal barriers and get some concrete to put there instead.
And they had to get some good barriers. They couldn't just put some tyres there. They had to find something suitable.
And they had to extinguish Romain's car.
Yeah.
With the Charles one, all they had to do was pull off the remaining tires between it and the actual barrier, check that the barrier was still intact, go, it's still there, and then just put new tires in.
Yeah.
So
and not snap Charles's car in half like they nearly did.
Well, yeah, that was a bit of a fuck, but
let's round off there, I think. So next week we're going to talk dream circuits, which is going to be quite appropriate because the Canadian Grand Prix might be cancelled. More on that next week. We'll await confirmation from the FIA.
Yeah, we'll also be doing our predictions for Portimao.
Yes.
So if anyone else wants to get involved, we had a few people last time. Although
comment down below.
All of those did not age very well. Much like most of ours, to be honest. But if you'd like to get involved, drop us a tweet, message us on the Discord server. We'll be putting out messages every now and then. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we usually post asking if we need some like predictions and stuff. We'll post on Sophie's Discord server if you're in it. If not, it's on Sophie Burley's, I think that's how you pronounce the last name, Sophie's Twitter somewhere. It'll be there.
Yeah. So
and then it's the usual spiel of, if you're watching us on YouTube, drop a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you're following us on any other podcasting platforms such as Spotify and all of the rest, give us a follow, rate us 5 stars, whatever the spiel is on that particular app.
Done this for 4 episodes, we still don't know.
We're still waiting for Apple.
Oh God.
And also next week we'll have a pit stop in Valencia for the Formula E race.
We won't go on about haircuts that time. No haircuts that time.
But yeah, no haircuts. Today has been a mad day for football. Let's leave it there.
Let's leave the footballing podcast to talk about.
This is an F1 podcast. We don't have turn 5s in football.
The Leeds v Liverpool game is going on as we speak, so I think we should end it before I switch that on and get really angry at the.
Yeah, let's end it before the full-time whistle goes and we can all listen to Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
But thanks very much for watching / listening, depending on what platform you're on. And we will see you next week where we're hopefully back up to 5. Maybe 6.
Maybe 6.
Who knows? But yeah, we'll see you next week for Dream Calendars. Have a fantastic week, everyone. Cheerio.
Bye now.
Bye.